Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for attending this session on under what conditions is REDD Plus a threat or an opportunity to the local rights agenda. I think this will be a very good continuation to our previous session that discussed a lot transparency and mapping. First, let me introduce myself. I am Thais Rinhares Juvenal. I am Senior Officer of the Year on REDD Program Secretariat. And we have here today to discuss and bring some country evidence on how the REDD Plus agenda is connected to the rights agenda and the progress and how things are taking place at country level. I have here to my left William Sutherland, a researcher from CIFOR, Solange Bandiaki, director of the African program of the Rights and Resources Institute, RRI, Mirna Safitri, executive director of Epistema Institute, and Yunus Yunti, Papa program manager of the Samdana Institute. And I will go straight to business here to allow us to have a very good discussion. And I wanted to ask William. I know that William led a research in C4 on evidence, bringing evidence on how the rights agenda, how the tenure agenda is being addressed in the REDD Plus strategies, and it has a very good survey and a very good evidence from many different countries. So I would like William to tell us a little bit of the evidence that was brought up in this research. Especially focusing on the challenge in addressing tenure insecurity that countries are facing when implementing REDD Plus.
Thank you, Thais. The research I'll be reporting on has been conducted over the last 4 years, and it's part of the Global Comparative Study on REDD funded by NORAD. And I'll be reporting on research that we've done in Brazil, Cameroon, Tanzania, Indonesia, and Vietnam at a subset of our project sites, 19 REDD projects in particular, and 71 villages that are within the sphere of these REDD projects. First, just a few words by way of background to put us all on the same page about forest and tenure issues. In the forest sector in developing countries, we have a situation where much of the land area is contested, there's overlapping claims, and there tends to be tenure insecurity. This has to do with the legacy of claims made by governments centuries ago that appropriated rights, that suppressed rights in the forest sector, creating a situation where many forest peoples are treated like trespassers in their own homes. And it's against this backdrop that REDD has a very tall challenge, which is to create a system of legitimate and recognized rights that has to aim in 4 directions: to identify the right holder to the intended stream of benefits delivered through performance-based systems, the bearers of responsibility, essentially the same people who are going to be held to accountable for this performance in keeping forests standing, avoiding a resource rush, given that REDD essentially creates a new commodity in the forest, and protecting existing livelihoods and rights. 4 years ago, when we began this research project, we were noticing that the tenure conditions are far from ideal, and that there was not much action by country governments involved in REDD in leading in the direction of improving the tenure conditions. So it was with a bit of surprise that we discovered early on in our research that all of the proponents are taking the tenure challenge quite seriously. And we've learned that part of this is motivated by ethics, but just as importantly, there's an instrumental logic in proponents giving serious attention to tenure. There's a business dimension to REDD that requires that there be a clear rights platform in order for it to function appropriately. And also, there's, of course, the third-party certification that makes it necessary to fulfill social safeguards regarding to tenure. And now to some specific findings that are worrisome, frankly.